let's go to the economy. And I already have a leader of the National Association of Nigerian Traders, Ms. Ijoma Anuforo. She is a leader of the National Association of Nigerian Traders. Hi.
Good evening.
Please go ahead with your question.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Senator Kwankwaso. I would like to ask, if you're elected president, what would you do about the instant budget padding and poor implementation of the budget? And then what will you do about the bloated structure of the civil service, its inefficiency that has almost drowned the economy? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, madam. Now, you see the CPRC you mentioned, I will come in, madam, just 1 or 2 minutes. You see, it's very critical. In our manifesto or blueprint that we have here, we mentioned the issue of community participation and reorientation committees. And these committees are going to be in all the 8,809 wards that we have in this country. The idea of those wards, of those committees, came from Kano. In Kano, for the 8 years I was governor, we have these committees in all the local governments. Now, what we did with the committee was to fund the committee to make sure that basic things in their communities are being done. That is in addition to what the state, federal, and of course the local governments were going to do. So at the end of the day, we had so many benefits. Those CP, they call them CRC in Kano, they were the people who are feeding our own primary schools. They will give them money, they go to the primary, they go to market, buy food items, cook for all the primary schools in their locality. They were the very committee that we used to give 2 sets of uniform every year to our children in primary school. They were the very committee that we used for security. Everything, any information that is important, they bring it up to the government and so on and so forth. Of course, we encourage everybody to go back to his ward in Kano and help his community, because we realized most people have left their villages and towns. They don't want to even hear the name. Maybe their parents are there, maybe they are not there. Now we want to do it at national level. And they are going to handle some of the issues, including selection of those who are to be in the security agencies, of course, including the military. We will use them effectively for many, many things, but what is more important is that we'll fund them directly from the federal. It's optional for the state or optional for the local government to give them from their own money, but through legislation, we are going to fund those committees. Now, madam, the issue of padding. You see, if you are a president or you are a governor and you keep your eyes away like this, anything is likely going to happen. Even the honest ones will start wondering whether they should help themselves. In Kano, we do budgets at the end of the year and start our budget in January. Every June, July, we come again and sit down and review our budget. And we have never sat down in Kano to do budget. We take everybody from director level upwards up to the governor. We go to either Kaduna or Abuja. We sit down with these people. Everybody will stand up. Chief executive will stand up and say, I am going to do so and so. For example, Ministry of Works, they will tell us the roads that we completed 100% last year. That one closed. Now, which ones are we starting this year? They will tell us. How can we finish them this year? Yes, put 100%. We can't finish 50%, put 50%. And how many have we started last year and they need completion? How much do we need to do that? They will tell us. And if you stand up in that meeting, just like this one, if you talk anything that will make you as a foolish man, everybody will be laughing at you. So that was why when we started, our budget, recurrent expenditure was 70%. Capital expenditure was 30%. Before we left Kano, we swapped it. Capital expenditure in Kano, 70%. Recurrent expenditure, 30%. And our our percentage performance was about 100%, just over 80%. That's percent. Even that one, we had some issues with the State Assembly. After finishing everything, when we take to them, they will add. But our policy was, okay, when I finish our own, we will do your own. And we have never finished our own 100%. So, you see, we never had any issue with budget. And that budget thing is key. I have gone through the budget of this country today, and I have gone through the budget as a senator. I have gone through the budget as member of the House of Reps and so on. I believe that with due diligence, with what we have done in Kano, if you apply it here, you don't need more than 50% of the amount of money that I have seen here. Because people are just helping themselves. That's the fact of the matter. And nobody is doing anything. We have not seen anybody either in the National Assembly or in any ministry or department or agency being punished for anything. So it's like free for all. People are happy, even the ones who are sitting on the fence, whether to be corrupt or not to be corrupt. They will be corrupt, they will come to this way because everybody is taking. And let me tell you, the civil servants, you mentioned the issue of civil servants. Civil servants are generally good. But that's where they stop. If you come with an agenda to steal, they will show you from A to Z how to steal money. I have been a civil servant myself for 17 years. If you come, and we have seen the civil servants in Kano, I have seen them in the Ministry of Defense, even in the police affairs when I was supervising the ministry. So it depends on the leadership. They don't want punishment. No civil servant will want to query. They never want to query. They can't sleep with query. So the issue of padding, either in the National Assembly, is when there is no due diligence. We have seen situations where people were given percentage of the total money revenue that government is getting, and they don't even know what to do. Is it they are too liquid and so on and so forth? These are things that you have to look. You give ministry, department, or agency just what they need, not what they need and what they can take.
All right.
Thank you.
We still have some more economic questions. Let me allow us to listen to Mr. Dr. Muda Yusuf, a former director at the SCCI. He has his question. Let's listen to him.
Your Excellency, the current financial position of the federal government is a major cause for concern. At the last budget presentation, as for budget 2023, projected fiscal deficit was over 10 trillion naira. The debt position is also not better. Current debt level is about 42 trillion naira. Now, if you win this election, how are you going to manage the finances concerned to be able to deliver on your programs without incurring more debt and ensuring that we have a reduction in fiscal deficit? Because the situation currently is extremely fragile as far as the fiscal situation of the country is concerned.
You see, in Kano, we never had an issue of unbalanced budget because we keep our eyes on whatever is coming and we look at what was necessary or important to be done that year. I am not one of those who are in a hurry to borrow money to do anything. You borrow money when it is extremely necessary and to do things that can generate resources and pay that debt. But we are so lucky in Kano, and that has always been my belief, that there is so much money in this country. Anybody who says there is no money, either he doesn't know or he wants to be mischievous. But there is enough money to do to take care of each and every one of us in this country. We have done it in Kano in 1999 to 2003. We met a lot of debt. We paid the debt. After 8 years, when I lost election, when I went back, I met debt of hundreds of millions of US dollars. We settled them before I left in 2015. I'm talking of borrowing money either from bank or from individuals and so on. So we have never borrowed. So I believe that that can be replicated to a very large extent at national level. I will not say I will not borrow, but if there are important things that can pay themselves, not to borrow and pay salary, handle recurrent expenditure and so on, I believe there is even more than enough money in this country to handle that. But if there are areas that are necessary, but what I'm telling you is that we have never borrowed for the 8 years I was governor in Kano from any bank or any other person. And I believed...
If you become president, you will be inheriting, in 2023, a very huge debt burden.
The situation, as we are being told now, is that whatever we are getting as our resources, as our money in this country is not even enough to service the debt. I think that's what we have heard. Now, the issue is any responsible government, day one, will sit down with all the people, creditors, and see how they can be rescheduled. There has to be negotiation. You cannot be collecting all your resources and paying interest to the creditors. There has to be arrangement to make sure that you are given a breathing space so that you can start bringing in the good things that are necessary for the country to move forward. And let me say that the amount of money this country is losing, ranging from the oil money itself, because we are told that our allocation of 2.2 million barrels a day has now gone down to less than 1 million. That shouldn't be acceptable to any government. Under normal circumstance, government must take over every square meter in this country. So I believe that there are a lot of resources, enough resources to take care of ourselves, and that is exactly where we are going or what we are going to do when we have the opportunity. But where we have to talk to creditors and so on from the beginning, certainly we'll do that so that we can make progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We can make progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it's time for us to listen to...
He wants to say something.
All right, Bishop, go ahead.
You know, I'm a supporting striker, so when it gets to economy, it affects every facet. We must look at increase in production. Once your production and productivity is impaired, it will affect leading to waste of time, resources, and energy. The government must be able to cope and fight corruption headlong. And once corruption is being fought,
I'm an actor and a social activist. My question...
That's one of the ways to generating and making better the economy. We should look out for the output of goods and services, curb capital flight, whereby is a process where Nigerians siphon our hard-earned money abroad and they engage in deploying the services of our monies abroad. Now, leadership must be found to be absolutely transparent. There must be transparency, probity, and accountability. It's a lifestyle. If a leader is corrupt, it goes down the drain. Nobody is afraid to be corrupt because you have nothing to show or nothing to say. Most of the times, you say what you want to say, but you do something differently. Your body language is enough to help people to dive in corruption.
Will the government be cutting costs of governance?
We'll be cutting costs of governance. We'll make sure governance is not lucrative. Right now, people do all they want to do to be in governance because of what we're going to do is to cut excesses, curb contract inflations, engage in youth empowerment and engage in services that will ensure that oil theft will become a thing of the past. Siphoning of government money will become a thing of the past because we're going to deploy what we call digital economy, where there's probity that cuts across. Now, we are going to ensure that people are involved in what we call skill acquisition. That way we retain our money here. We are going to ensure that there is a common system that checkmates, and every person is liable to ensuring that before he gets into governance, proper documentation of who you are now and then who you will be after governance must be brought to book. Now, you see, Nigeria will move faster and forward if we don't mind who takes the credit. We're going to deploy brains, brilliant Nigerians within and outside, that's in the diaspora, who are going to formulate policies and implement policies that will create an environment for people to really dare to want to invest in this country.
Let me allow Mr. Kayode Alonge. He's a representative of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Let's listen to the question from the Manufacturers Association. Mr. Alonge. Thank you, Bishop.
Yeah, Your Excellencies, currently, as it stands, the manufacturing sector contributes less than 10% to the GDP. And of course, capacity utilization is also averaging below 50%. Now, there are a number of factors that are responsible for this. Infrastructural deficits, whether it's rail, road, congestion at the port. We have electricity supply shortage, and countless number of factors that are responsible for the situation as it stands right now. We also have Nigeria being a signatory to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. As it stands right now, there are over 43 parties and 18 signatories, which makes this body the second largest world trade body that has free trade area. As it stands, countries like Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, South Africa seems to be well prepared ahead of Nigeria, even though we have the largest population, of course, by inference, the largest market. But unfortunately, it appears that we are not prepared for what is coming. In the event that your party forms the next government, what are the quick policy decisions that your government will put in place to protect the manufacturing sector and strengthen it in order to make it more competitive on the continental scene, and of course enable it to contribute more to the GDP?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I believe that all of us are aware of what is happening. Some are even going to the extent of saying that today we are importing toothpick. I believe that things must change if we have to make progress. Of course, there are critical factors that can easily support and help manufacturers in this country or anywhere, any country in this world. One, we are talking of the issue of power. Today, we have seen the power that is being generated, the power that is being transmitted with a lot of losses, and at the end of the day, we have very little that goes out there. And even the cost itself must be competitive. We have other infrastructure like the roads, the railway, you mentioned, the issue of water supply, and so on and so forth. They are not there. Even the issue of security to transport goods and services from one point to the other is lacking everywhere in this country. Even the issue of taxation. Government must look at the issue of taxation very critically. The figure, I think, is about 33%. Now, I think in our blueprint, we're talking of 25%. It may look like reduction, but we are afraid that because of the very high taxation, one, people are running away from this country. Two, some people are avoiding to pay taxes, and therefore government, at the end of the day, is losing the businesses and therefore getting less tax to the government. So there are many areas that we looked at and to ensure that things are done correctly. The issue of corruption that was being mentioned earlier on is very key. And unless the issue of corruption is tackled head-on, we'll continue to have problems, not only in the area of manufacturing, but in all other areas. The ease of doing business is another area that government must make sure that it's not too difficult for anybody to set up a business locally or to come from elsewhere to bring in investment. So there are many things, many factors that must be tackled by the government to ensure that people are encouraged locally to set up their businesses. Of course, education on its own is very critical. You need to educate your people to face the challenges of today and that of the future. If you don't have educated people or trained people in particular areas, people like me who have been trained in the technical school and polytechnics, people who would come and make sure that things are done here. We have the young men and women. We have people who have gone all over the world to be educated in all the areas. What they lack is the opportunity to practice, to do the right thing. We have our classmates all over the world who were doing very well when I was in the civil service. But when you come, you'll only be lucky to even get a job now, talk less or practice what you have learned over the years. We have to get away of ensuring that people from elsewhere are coming in to invest in this country. But